Welcome to CBR. Batman is definitely one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. But do you know when exactly Bruce Wayne made his debut? Today you will, because we're deep diving into the evolution of Batman from day one. Created by artist Bob Kane and writer Bill Finger, the socialite industrialist Bruce Wayne made his debut on March 30th, 1939. At the time, DC still didn't exist. DC Comics' name comes from the series and publishing company Detective Comics. Batman's first appearance came in the featured story of the 27th issue of Detective Comics, called The Case of the Chemical Syndicate. The creation of the character was inspired by the success of Superman, who had his debut in 1938 in Action Comics, another series by Detective Comics. It combined the concept of costumed superheroes and darker crime fighters like the Shadow to make up Bruce Wayne, a man so wealthy, strong, and intelligent, he can fight crime without having superpowers. In the story, Bruce is a friend of Commissioner Gordon, the police commissioner of Gotham City. They investigate a murder and are helped by the mysterious Batman, with the story ending with the revelation that Bruce Wayne is Batman. The hero's origin story first appeared in Detective Comics number 33, published in November 1939. The issue depicts the murder of Bruce's parents in his childhood at the hands of Joe Chill, which drives him to pursue a life as Gotham's vigilante as an adult. Although details of the crime, including who committed it, would be retconned several times after that, the core event of Bruce losing his parents due to crime in Gotham City has always remained a pillar of his origins. The inspiration behind the Bat theme is Bruce's line, "Criminals are a superstitious, cowardly lot, so my disguise must be able to strike terror into their hearts. I must be a creature of the night." Soon after he says this, a bat flies into his study. He soon meets the orphaned circus acrobat Dick Grayson, who becomes his sidekick Robin. Robin's introduction was a pivotal moment for Batman Comics, as it marked one of the first instances of a superhero having a teenage or young adult sidekick. His inclusion created a dynamic that would greatly influence many other superhero duos in comic book history, including Captain America and Bucky Barnes, who would become Marvel's main superhero duo in the following year. Batman's popularity led to the launch of his own comic book series, still in 1940. The first issue introduced two important characters, the Joker and Catwoman. During most of the golden age of comics, the era from 1938 to 1956, Wayne also had a fiancée named Julie Madison. He hired Alfred Pennyworth to be his butler at Wayne Manor when Alfred successfully deduced Batman and Robin's secret identities and helped them catch the issue's bad guy. Alfred is initially depicted as the son of Jarvis, the Waynes' previous butler. He came from England to fulfill his father's last wish that he would follow the family's tradition and become Bruce Wayne's butler. During the Silver Age of comics, the period from 1956 to 1970, Batman Comics had many new characters introduced, like Batwoman and Batgirl. The inclusion of other Bat characters created the concept of a Bat family of heroes, following a common trend in comic books at the time of giving each hero a few variations in the form of relatives and pets, similar to the creation of Supergirl and Krypto the Superdog for Superman comics. The original Batwoman is Kathy Kane, from the Kane family, who are very important in Batman canon. She first appeared in Detective Comics number 233 from 1956. Kathy is Bruce's cousin on his mother's side. His parents were Thomas Wayne and Martha Kane, the latter being Kathy's aunt. Batgirl, in parallel, has been a sidekick to both Batman and Batwoman instead of a main hero. First appearing in Batman number 139 from 1961, she was originally Bet Kane, another one of Bruce Wayne's cousins. During the first half of the Silver Age, Batman remained a detective-adjacent superhero. But soon, DC Comics started to incorporate changes to the hero based on other iterations. The 1966 Batman television series, which we will talk about later in the video, was a massive hit and heavily influenced the comics around this time. Batman Comics became lighter, adopting a more family-friendly comedy tone, like the TV show. While Robin himself as a sidekick represented the appeal of Batman Comics to younger generations, Batman was still linked to young adult audiences for exploring topics children are not usually too interested in, like murder mysteries. In comparison to Superman stories, DC Comics that featured Batman were not as kid-friendly, although they were also marketed for children and teens. That all changed towards the second half of the Silver Age when the Batman TV show influenced the mentioned change in tone. Once again, the 1980s marked another total shift in Batman Comics. Everything Batman became dark again, especially since the 1986 miniseries The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, illustrated by Miller and Klaus Janson, with color by Lynn Varley. The 4-issue series redefined Batman for a more mature audience only, making Bruce a darker and more complex character. Miller was also behind Batman Year One, which retells the hero's origin story with illustrations by Dave Mazzucchelli, published in 1987. Subsequent retcons have maintained the dark tone for Batman, with only detail within his story changing. For example, Alfred was turned into the person who raised Bruce when he became an orphan in some iterations, like in the Batman Earth 1 series published in 2012. In many versions of Bruce Wayne's early life, he is depicted as a problematic and violent child and teenager, often getting in trouble at school. In the 2011 Batman comics series, Bruce became obsessed with the search for meaning in the loss of his parents. Instead of the criminal Joe Chill, Bruce thought the mythical Court of Owls was responsible, but could never prove it. But the 2016 series, which is the one that is currently ongoing, makes the event even darker. After the murder of his parents, Bruce decided to commit suicide with a razor blade. He regretted the decision, realizing that this wasn't what his parents would want. Instead, Bruce vowed to spend the rest of his life fighting crime. In parallel to the murder of his parents, there is one other fact that has remained relatively established as canon throughout the decades. To become the best crime fighter possible, Bruce traveled the world to train with the greatest masters. In Tibet, for example, where he trained in martial arts and sword fighting with local Shaolin monks. Unlike characters born with powers or abilities, Bruce had to earn his skills, making him one of the most disciplined fighters in the DC universe. What's surprisingly not that coherent throughout the many different versions is Batman's role in the Justice League. The Justice League was first introduced in The Brave and the Bold number 28 in 1960. The original lineup included Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. Batman is one of the founding members of DC's main team of superheroes in some stories, not all of them, but always a valued member. Interestingly, he is the only superhero in the team that does not have any superpowers. In consequence, he often takes on the role of the strategist and the mystery solver, using his intellect and resources to contribute. Despite working alongside superpowered peers, Batman's distrust of those with powers has always been one of his defining traits. To be honest, Batman has a hard time trusting others. He has contingency plans for every member of the League in case they ever go rogue, a concept that was explored in the 2000 story arc JLA Tower of Babel. Batman has also played a major role in various Justice League storylines in DC Comics, including the iconic arcs Crisis on Infinite Earths and Final Crisis. It's also important to note that throughout the decades, Batman's canon never stopped expanding, incorporating new and more complex narratives. The introduction of Elseworld stories in the DC universe allowed writers to explore alternative versions of Bruce Wayne. One iconic example is the steampunk one-shot Batman, Gotham by Gaslight from 1989, which reimagined Batman as a vigilante in the Victorian era, fighting against real-life serial killer Jack the Ripper. Additionally, Batman was even somebody else instead of Bruce Wayne in certain timelines, such as in the Flashpoint from 2011. In that arc, Bruce Wayne never became Batman. It was his father, Thomas Wayne, who actually created the mantle after Bruce was murdered. Now, let's take a look into how the live-action adaptations of Batman fit into his evolution. There are several different versions of Batman in TV and movies, including animation, and they are surprisingly intertwined with the changes to the character seen in comics. The first significant live-action portrayal of Batman came in a television show titled Batman, which aired from 1966 to 1968. Starring Adam West as Batman and Burt Ward as Robin, this version of The Dark Knight was a campy, colorful comedy that inspired the shift in tone in Batman comics in the late 1960s that we discussed earlier in the video. The series was a 30-minute primetime show broadcast by the ABC network, a massive hit upon its debut. It drew millions of viewers around the world and popularized the character beyond comic book readers. It was marked by iconic portrayals of Batman characters like Cesar Romero's Joker, Burgess Meredith's Penguin, and Julie Newmar's Catwoman. After Batman became a much darker character in DC Comics in the 1980s, the live-action adaptations by Tim Burton were somewhere in between the darkness of comics and the campiness of TV's Batman. Tim Burton's 1989 film titled Batman embraced a modern Gothic aesthetic similar to what the filmmaker had been exploring thus far in his career. blending it with superhero action, starring Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Jack Nicholson as the Joker. The movie redefined Batman as a hero, as dark as the villains, contrasting with Adam West's goofy Batman and other characters on TV. Tim Burton's 1992 sequel titled Batman Returns was more violent and dark. This time, Batman faced off against Danny DeVito's grotesque Penguin and Michelle Pfeiffer's tragic Catwoman. The film's more disturbing imagery made it controversial, leading to a shift in direction for future Batman films. Joel Schumacher then took over after Tim Burton, making the 1995 film Batman Forever and the 1997 film Batman and Robin. The first had Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne, who was replaced by George Clooney in the latter. Director Christopher Nolan was the one later responsible for bringing the darkness back to Batman with his Dark Knight trilogy. The first of the series, Batman Begins, was released in 2005. Christian Bale became a fan-favorite casting choice for Bruce Wayne, and he is considered by many fans the best actor to have ever played Batman. What's particularly interesting about Nolan's first Batman film is that, for the first time, a movie heavily focused on Batman's origin story. It also embraced a few comic canon events that had never been fully explored before on screen, like Bruce Wayne's travels to train with the best. The 2008 sequel, The Dark Knight, became one of the most acclaimed superhero films of all time. It was marked by the inclusion of Heath Ledger, who made history with his unique Joker. The trilogy concluded with The Dark Knight Rises in 2012, in which Batman faced Tom Hardy's Bane and the consequences of his crime-fighting career. While not as praised as The Dark Knight, the film provided a great conclusion to Christopher Nolan's gritty trilogy and felt accurate to modern Batman comics. The most recent iteration of Batman on the big screen came in 2022, with The Batman starring Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, directed by Matt Reeves. This 2022 version was very well received by the fans, embracing the film noir genre. It evokes detective narratives as a nod to the character's roots in murder mystery stories. Its sequel, The Batman Part 2, is scheduled for release in 2027. But Batman's on-screen history is actually bigger than that. Animated series have been crucial to this superhero's evolution. Batman the Animated Series was developed by Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski and produced by Warner Brothers Animation. It originally aired on Fox Kids from September 5th, 1992 to September 15th, 1995. Midway through the series' run, it was retitled The Adventures of Batman and Robin, and it had 85 episodes in total. It is acclaimed for its mature storytelling and the introduction of characters like Harley Quinn. That's right, Harley Quinn never existed before this animated series. The character, who is the Joker's sidekick and love interest, was so captivating that she was incorporated into DC Comics soon after. In addition to Batman, the animated series, other animated adaptations have been significant to the evolution of the superhero. In fact, Harley Quinn in that show is not the only character in Batman canon that was first created for a TV animation. Batman Beyond, for example, which aired for 3 seasons from 1999 to 2001, brought a major game changer. It first introduced Terry McGinnis as a new Batman, who is mentored by an aged Bruce Wayne. This futuristic take on Batman significantly expanded his canon and showed Gotham in a dark cyberpunk setting, which further established Batman as a timeless character. Other notable animated series include The Batman, which aired from 2004 to 2008 on Kids WB. It provided a fresh, modernized look at Batman's early years. Another interesting one was Beware the Batman, airing from 2013 to 2014. It used CGI animation and focused on lesser-known villains like Anarchy and Professor Pig. Batman has also had major roles in animated Justice League series, such as Justice League from 2001 to 2004 and Justice League Unlimited from 2004 to 2006. The history of Batman in comic books and live-action and animated adaptations is so extensive that we could continue exploring his canon. But now you have a summary of all important moments in the character's trajectory throughout the decades. How do you think DC Comics and adaptations should handle Batman in the future? Do you prefer the dark, gritty tone of most recent iterations, or the campy, comedic tone of older versions of Batman? Let's discuss that in the comments below. Until next time, thanks for watching CBR.